Everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Fola, and today I'm going to talk about a little touchy subject, and that is about entities. So tune in. So if you're new to the channel, so great to see you join in here. And to those of you tuning back in, thanks for your support. And I just want to remind you, you can hit the little subscription button or subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're updated on future releases. And that way you won't miss anything. But today I want to thank Brittany for her request in the Facebook feed on a live video I did just the other day, all about entities. And really that was more around like dark entities and things like that. I'll probably make another video on that. But the video today is specifically on some experiences I've had. And mostly with entities, but like just energies that sometimes we kind of doubt it. Well, do these things exist, you know? Just to remind you, like there are so many different cultures and religious beliefs out there that hold true to the idea of like paranormal activities, ghosts, entities, other spirits, demons, you know, so there really needs to be a framework around some of that stuff. Otherwise, we kind of think, hey, that stuff's not real, it can't be true for me. So have an open mind, but I'll share with you a few experiences that I've had over my life and kind of what happened. You can take from it what you want. No pressure. So I did make a video about aliens and like my encounter of a third kind. You can check that video out. I'll link it here. I feel like the whole alien third dimensional thing is its own sort of topic, so I'm not going to bring those in. But in terms of ghosts and entities, like really, what are these beings? And whether or not you think that these things are bad or right or wrong, you know, something that's really supported me is reading a bit more about entities. And I really like the access consciousness concepts on Talking to the Entities by Shannon O'Hare. You can find the books online. I would really suggest that. It was kind of like helped me to see entities from this lens of like, okay, how can I open up without being fearful and without being too curious? Because I think we have to really be mindful of that. And that can be really like a great thing because nowadays it seems like more people are experiencing some of this stuff. I would say, you know, my experience with entities or spirits, it's happened throughout my life, yet I haven't really believed it. You know, it's so easy for us to kind of just like, oh no, it's just shadows or whatever, stuff it off to some like other bizarre occurrence, right? So it's just been the last like few years since my whole spiritual emergence that I've really started to be like, oh, like there are other possibilities here. I shouldn't doubt myself and what I'm experiencing. And it's not like that you're like out of your mind or delusional if you experience some of this stuff. And I feel like really that's kind of a point I want to hit here because a lot of people experience like seeing or hearing things, right? And that's kind of a normal part of our human life, I think. Obviously, if it's becoming too much so, then maybe it's worth kind of stepping back from that, right? But there was a time I was actually going house hunting with a friend / realtor of mine, and we went to this one particular house. And I just remember we got in, it was like a cute little house, and you know, it wasn't very old, like maybe 1980s, 70s, like max. It was like a relatively newer build. And the one thing I noticed though, as we were in the kitchen and like kind of walking near the hallway and then the stairs, was that there was like a lot of mirrors, like a lot of mirrors. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of strange. Like, what's up with that? Anyways, we go and like make our way, and she's like, let's go upstairs, check the upstairs. And as I went up the stairs, and like, again, like the whole wall of the stairs was just like layered, like just all mirrors, which is very strange. You know, you might have like one mirror. Why do you need like a whole wall of mirror? And as we went around, up and around the banister, I saw like a man walking down the stairs. And like a bigger man too. It wasn't like, you know, it was like so vivid. And I was like, kept walking, went into the bedroom. And I was like, did you see that? She's like, did you see what? Like, well, just let me, like, how do you feel about the house? Like, what, you know, what are the like energies? Because she's kind of into some of that stuff. She's like, well, let's just keep going through and then I'll share like after. So then when we left, I was like, we just discussed a bit. She's like, yeah, there was something in the space. I'm like, yeah, I totally saw like a man walking down the stairs. And it was interesting because this guy kept coming to my mind like days and like weeks after, and it just was just present. And then I was talking to like my mentor, coach, friend, Linda. We were on the phone, and I just shared, because at this time too, we had been like doing more reading about like talking to the entities and all this stuff. And we ended the call, and she calls me back like right away. She's like, let's see if we need to clear this guy. Like, who's this guy? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, because he's still in my awareness. Like, so I don't even know what's up with that. And so we just did a little like engagement. She's like, hey, ask these questions. And I like asked, and we just kind of played. And the guy was just like, he just wanted to be made known. Someone maybe that had lived there. And like, there was nothing, no harm, nothing like bad or wrong about him. He's just, honestly, was just chilling in the house and didn't really have anything else for me to do. Or, you know, sometimes they might have messages and things that obviously like mediums channels can kind of go through. But that was pretty much it. And so I was like, okay, what else do you need? Do you want to go? Like, you know, pass on? And yeah. And so I always found that really interesting, because it was after that, then like, it was just kind of clear. Like there was nothing really else that I needed to experience with that entity. And that was like one of the more vivid, I'd say like, vivid in the awake time sort of experiences that I've had. So yeah, there you go. So another time I want to share was actually also, it's again, like, that's funny. As soon as you open yourself, I guess that's when things kind of start happening. My ex and I had gone to Waterton National Park, or I think it's a national park. And they have like a super, super old hotel there called the Prince of Wales. And it's very beautiful. It's been around for like over 100 years now, I believe. Lots of people would come up through like Waterton Lake from the States during like the Prohibition era, and they'd come to Canada so they could party. And we decided like, yeah, let's go. Also because partly it's like, oh, I wonder what type of creepy things will be in this hotel, right? You never know. And we went, we checked it out as we were like sitting there in the like lobby area. You could just like feel like something like present, you know, like just this energy. And I was like, okay, I need to use the washroom. And this was weird. Like almost like everywhere I went in Waterton, the woman's bathroom would be out of order. So I feel like there's some other symbolism there for me. But I went to the washroom and it was out of order. Surprise. Waterton. And anyways, I did open the door because I was like, can I just see if someone's actually in there? And someone was cleaning. But what I noticed when I opened it was that there were no mirrors. And this like stuck out vividly for me. I was like, that's interesting. So I leave and I go, and then I went to sit down. He went to use the washroom. And as I was sitting there, I had the strangest like thing. It was as if like an overlay of the entire lobby, and everyone walking just switched to like a different era. Like, I'm not even kidding you. People walking, it was as if they were wearing different clothing and all these things. And then I like saw something like jumping, falling from like, anyways, it was like an instant knowing of that, oh my gosh, there was like some type of like suicide here. Something, you know, like not very appealing to like everyone in the space, maybe a lot of witnesses. And it just like really threw me off. Anyways, as I kind of came back and I'm like, okay, we need to kind of get out of here because this energy is like too much for me. I was finally like, okay, I'm going to go to the washroom. I saw there was another washroom, and then there were the like bellboys. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go and talk to one of those people and be like, so tell me the ghost stories. But first I used the washroom. And when I was in the washroom, like it was like just a single accessible sort of washroom stall. And I noticed as I was in there, there were no mirrors. And I could feel like something like behind me. Let's just put it that way. Like it was something behind me. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know why they have no mirrors. Because if you have mirrors in these spaces, you're probably going to see something. And anyways, I went to the guy after and I'm like, so like, tell us some ghost stories. Like, you know, and he shared quite a few different things that have happened. Primarily, he said in like the staffing quarters, which has a lot of the old furniture in that from the hotel. But when I asked him about the mirrors, he's like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, there's no mirrors. Like, what is up with that? And he's like, oh, he's like, I think you're right, actually. And then he's starting to recall like the fact that there are no freaking mirrors in the hotel. Like, what's up with that? But then he shared that there was like a suicide. Someone had died by suicide. It was like, I'm probably going to butcher the story because I was more just in shock of like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And I mean, how unlikely is it at like a place like that there would be some deaths, right? But again, here I am minimizing the experiences and trying to downplay it. But he had said that there was like, I think the manager of the hotel who was married was having some type of affair with some woman. And this woman like loved this man so much. I don't think she murdered him. But I think she jumped off from the one balcony or whatever of the room. And so people will like come to stay in that room. But yeah, anyway, so that was that experience. Definitely a neat place to check out. I still don't really know what happened with that whole like overlay of events, but it was definitely a neat story to share. I did share another experience in the live video, and I can obviously share that again. I was at an event, and there were a few people like kind of sleeping together. And yeah, like I remember getting ready for bed, and it was like a relatively emotional week, or, you know, the event, it's like, you know, personal workings and development stuff. And as I was going to bed, I remember just kind of like, okay, you know, like what type of things are going to happen for us while we're here? And I don't really know if I was like fully asleep or if I'd like fallen asleep and then woke up. Like I remember the lights being on. You know what, actually, now that I think about it, I think what it was that because everything was dark and someone had their like light on. I think it was right when they turned their light off, I saw this thing come inside like the space we were in. And the thing about it was like a creepy looking thing. I mentioned in the video I made about it, like, you know, like Constantine, that movie, and they had like all the demon things, and it was like, it had like 4 limbs. It was kind of like spider-like crawling. But I remember seeing that, and then I must have like passed out like right away, because I don't recall ruminating on the fact that I had just seen that. Let's put it that way. Anyway, so then in the middle of the night, I like woke up and I could feel this thing like above my head, as if it was like breathing like right over me. And the amount of fear, I remember the heart beating, just like it started pounding. Like there was this intense like terror sort of sensation coming up for me. And I thought that was interesting because I'm like, well, nothing's happening. But I knew like there was some connection to whatever the heck was. The thing was I had seen and that. And, you know, my initial sort of approach is like, what do you want? Like, maybe you want love and light. Oh, what I've learned is like, don't really do those things, because a lot of beings might try to, you know, encourage or incite something. That definitely was an interesting experience. I ended up like just sending out prayers and like calling for energy of protection. I even called Jesus, I remember, like this protection energy around me, and then to everyone else that was on like the space and at the space we were at, just because I was like, okay, no one else needs to go through this. But the thing that really shook me up about this one was the next day I was like, hey everyone, like, did anyone experience anything kind of weird last night? And one girl in particular was like, yeah, like there was this thing up here, and like she pointed exactly where the thing was, and she was just like, yeah, those things happen to her all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh. So to this day, I just let that one go, because who knows? As I sit here and kind of like think about more of these stories, I realize that this has probably happened way more than I've like actually held to account, if that's the proper way to put that. But another story I'll share was, and I went to Salem, Massachusetts, because I mean, that's what you do, right? You just go by yourself to the witch city of the world. And I was just kind of roaming around. It was a relatively like gloomy Monday, because I realized after I arrived there that a lot of things are closed on Mondays. And I just was like, had my umbrella walking through the rain, and I went to this one particular house, and I'll actually share the picture here. There was this like huge tree, like it was so huge. And you can see like it was like had all this like water streaming from the rain, but to me it looked like it was just so prominent, like this bloody kind of like sort of feel. And I was really surprised that no one else was like at this garden space. Mind you, yeah, again, it was raining Monday because everything's closed in Salem on a Monday. And I was just me at the back of this like super old house that's been turned into this museum slash garden space. As I was standing there, like taking pictures of the tree, like just minding my own business, all of a sudden I felt this thing like kind of come up against me. And like I felt it, I could hear it, like it was present, it made itself known. And I like turned so quickly, and I knew instantly, I was like, okay, that was some like ghost thing. And it didn't feel bad. It didn't feel like it was like, what are you doing in my space? It just felt more like it was curious. Like, hey, you're taking pictures. Like, what's that about? And I instantly was like, okay, I'm going to get out of here because I don't really know what's going on in this place. But that was like a pretty intense experience. And it also adds up to not that even that long ago, I had gone for a walk with the dog, and we were just minding our own business. And then we came to this like clearing. Okay, I guess we weren't minding our own business because we actually went down. I was like, let's go down here off the trail. And there's like this huge clearing. And I just remember being like, there's something about this space, you know, like how come there's no trees here? Like what's going on about this place? And as we were just standing there, and I actually, again, had my camera out, which is kind of interesting, I guess, when we think about it. And all of a sudden, I like felt this thing rush, like it's as if it ran behind my back, like it rushed. And the confirmation for me was that the dog at the same time of me turning, we both like just like quickly like, what was that, right? And I'm like, okay, there's something here, whatever this space is about. Didn't care to engage much with it. Didn't seem like it was, you know, it definitely felt, the rush of it was more like a, hey, like get my attention sort of energy. So I was like, okay, I respect that something else might be here, and I will go in a little bit of time. So that was just kind of nearby here. That was an interesting one. And last but not least, I want to kind of end it on maybe a more positive note. And this is like looking at entities from more of that light-filled perspective, where once I had called on one of the archangels. I can't recall if it was Metatron or if it was Raphael. I feel like it was Metatron. And this was like a few years ago now. I don't even really know what was going on for me, but I was like, I need whatever this energy is in my life to change. Like, how, angel, can you do this? And like, what do I need to know? And it was again that like in between sleep and awake state. All of a sudden, I remember mostly like what it was this jolt back into my body. But there was also this being, like an angel, standing at the foot of the bed as I entered back. And it was interesting because it was between the dream state and the awake state, because I know I was like in that like vision, because I was seeing like these staircases, and I was I had gone up the staircase, I think, and then had come back down into my body. And, you know, usually if it's a dream, it's a dream. But the fact that here was this being, when I opened my eyes at like the foot of the bed, I was like, what? But again, to me, I'm like, was I sleeping? Was I awake? What's that about? Like, really, what's that about? But I don't doubt, like, the fact that these beings are present in our life, and we have the ability to tap into their energies, you know? And one thing I've learned from calling on archangels and that is you have to be serious about the work you want to do, because God knows they will bring it for you. So these are just like some encouragements for you to really just be aware in your life. Where are the times you've seen entities or beings or spirits, and are you open to that? Or if you just kind of, you know, sloughed it off as like, nah, it's just make believe, it's in my mind, I'm tired, or whatever the case might be. Because I think this happens way more often than we like to think. And I'm sure even as I hit like the stop button recording, there'll be way more things that come to my mind. But I'd love to hear about your stories in the comments. Feel free to share them. And also feel free to share this video with anyone you think might be interested. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.